I don't know what is wrong with the righteous laws of the Father. Could it be that we are disobedient when we chuck it all to grace? Is destroying the human race?
There is some things that the Most High would like for me to share, just what's going on around us as far as the news has really been pressing on me, some of the things that I'm seeing. And it seems like, it doesn't seem like, but it is, the time is just flying. It's just moving, And I know, it's like you look up and you're in another month, Now here we are rounding off and we're in another year, And it's like, man, you blink your eyes and phew, time is just gone. And I've been looking at some progressive things that have been happening, and the first thing I want to start off with is our education system, because I am a parent and I have children that have gone through the system. We've taken them out of the system. We've homeschooled our kids. We've seen a huge difference over the last 6-7 years that we've done that because of the instructions of the Most High to do that. But I see on and on and on how they're pushing the buck, how the Satan, basically the god of this world, because the power was delivered unto him because of the fall of our father Adam and Eve. I see how the god of this world, not glorifying him, but just giving you a picture of what's happening to our children and how they're being attacked internally and how they're being bombarded with things that are just in the school system. And you can imagine a child being in school away from the parent for 7-8 hours at a time. That's like us going to work on a job. That's how they're in the school system. And things are not like they used to be when we were in school. So I look at our education system, and I saw this on one of the social media things that I try to jump on and look and see at the news. It seems like most news is happening in social media, real news is happening more on social media than it's happening really on television, because the things they show you on television, a lot of that is cued and skewed, but things that are happening in the social circles, they're really showing a lot of truth. And so it's this young lady, of course you remember the young lady that got tossed and flung about in her desk right there at school. And then about, this young lady here, because a lot of us Judites, and there's more than Judah on the phone call tonight. We have some sisters from Gad. The Yasharallah is a variety of people that think there's someone else, but they aren't. You got Issachar, you got Gad, you got Zebulun, you got Manasseh, you got Ephraim, you got Judah, Levi, Benjamin, you got Simeon, you got Zebulun, Asher. So we're the 12 tribes of Yasharallah, 12 tribes. And so there's a lot of things going on all over our nation as Israel. But just looking at Judah, which are the Negroes in America today, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi here in America, and Gad and Reuben too, but just looking at Judah, what's happening, a lot of us are going natural. And the reason being is because we're finding out that the lady that started the perm and all that, Madam C.J. Walker with whatever, that she started with the perms and the different things that for our hair, we're looking at how it's damaging and been damaging us chemically for a long time. Cancer, all different types of things happen within the body because the skin is the largest organ, but also brain damage, tumors, fibroids, cysts, all these things is going on with our scalp and our hair because of the perms. And so a lot of us sisters that are in the tribe of Yoda, Benjamin and Levi, we're going natural. And what this little young lady is going natural in high school, and she's at this public high school, and they told her that she has to cut her afro. Okay? How low can you go dealing with somebody's hair? But this is just some of the things that they're doing and saying to our kids. They're forcing them to take child education. A lot of these teachers are homosexual. They're lesbian, and they're homosexual men trying to teach our children about, their bodies. And a lot of this is being forced on them. They have to take these classes, especially in high school, to get to the next grade. But they're not stopping there. They're teaching them as young as second and third grade about their anatomy, their human anatomy. They're teaching them about, what their parts are. They're teaching them not only that, but they're teaching them about, homosexual, being homosexual, having two dads, having two moms. It's just getting ridiculous, and they have a license to do that because of the freedom of speech and so-called freedom of religion that we have in this country. Everybody has freedom of religion except the people of the Most High. We can't talk about our Elohim, our God, and we can't tell about the true history that our children have and the things that we need to do concerning the law. We can't talk about, but the Satanists can come to the school and pass out Satan cartoon, different sketches of cartoon coloring books to our children and teach them about satanic religion. And, of course, the lesbians and LGBT, that's a whole religious organization that too, they can teach them about it. But when it comes down to us talking about our Lord and Savior and the history of who we are, they don't want that in the classroom. They don't want that in the classroom. They don't want our children to know who they really are. And so it's such a pushback right now in education, and it's been pressed upon me to share with you ladies on the call. It may be time for you to homeschool your kid. It may be time for you to think about pushing, talking to your children about homeschooling their children, grandkids. You may be pressed upon to talk to your sister or brother about pulling them aside and saying, it's going to get worse. We need to consider homeschooling our kids. Now, not only that, ladies, but CPS is now a part of the school board system in a lot of these states, okay? Oh. So the Child Protection Agency has now gotten in with the federal government and some of the state governments, and they are now going to be housing a CPS agent in the school, okay? So that bypasses everything that has to do with you being a parent and being able to combat, what's going on and being able to take these people to court and deal with them that way. Instead of that, they bring the case, the teacher puts the accusation saying the child's been acting weird and got different marks on their body and da-da-da-da, and they write up a report against your child. And instead of it going to the, through the school system, school board or whatever, now it goes straight to the CPS agent that's in the school. Okay, so from there, from the CPS agent, the agent can have the ability to basically run a trial right there with your child without you even knowing it, come and render a verdict and take your child from you, and they're not coming home from school, and you're trying to figure out where your kid is, and they've abducted the child, and now CPS has taken your child and saying, you're a bad parent, you have to prove that this report that this teacher has written on you or written on your child is not correct. So there's bypassing the legal system altogether and going right into looking at taking your kid. This is serious. And this is something that we as women that have children or grandkids or nieces or nephews, we need to make sure that we're thinking about this thing and maybe saying it's time for us to go back to the way we used to deal with our children, our family. Let's think about homeschooling. So if you have not heard about CPS, it is coming to a school near you because the enemy is ramping up this stuff to really get it going. So I encourage you, go on the Internet, go online, CPS in the school board in America, pull up the information and begin to read, because they've already implemented this, ladies. They've already implemented it in Chicago and Washington and several other states. So just be aware that it's already been implemented. Normally they they try to say, well, it's not going to be done. But when they say they're doing it or they're going to do it in 2016, ladies, it's already done. It's already being implemented, okay? They're just letting us know that this is what they've already done. It used to be they used to get a vote on it and say this and that. Well, there's no vote anymore, okay? Now they're passing it, and it's coming to pass. Please be aware of that. Another thing that I've become aware of is this Black Lives Matter. And I've got to talk about it because it seems to be a very noble thing that's happening on the earth. But this is the problem with the Black Lives Matter. Farrakhan's daughter, which Farrakhan is about the Muslim religion. Farrakhan, that's been around for a long time, but he's always pushed the Muslim religion, okay? And that goes against everything that we believe in. But now he's got this Million Man March going on and all this stuff, and now all of a sudden he's instructed his granddaughter, and I think her last name is Longwolf, and she's actually pushing this organization called Black Lives Matter. It all happened with Mike Brown and some of the other, innocent black males that were killed. They were innocently shot down. And I'm not coming against them and trying to do something when it comes down to our people. But understand this is hidden with the LGBT agenda. Okay? The reason I'm saying that is the lesbian, gay, transsexual, bi, queer, and all these other letters they're getting ready to have added to it, they're the ones that started the Black Lives Matter. Okay, it's three feminist women, highly feminist women, that basically when they say feminist, their mentality is they don't need a man. And two out of the three feminists are actually lesbian women. It's a known fact. My thing against them is your mind is already messed up, being that you are a lesbian. Okay, you can't take all of us and group us together and say that we're going to get together and form this organization as a like-minded people, or together we think the same, when you guys are really corrupting and destroying our community, just living the lifestyle that you're living, because it's an abomination to the Most High to live that kind of lifestyle. So I can't, the scripture said don't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. I can't yoke up with you just because you're black, because I've got to know what is your intentions behind this. Not just, yes, black lives do matter, okay, most importantly to the Most High, because we all belong to him. But where is this movement going when you bring in the lesbians and the homosexuals just because they're black? See, there's a difference in that, because they're unclean and other people are clean. We can't yoke up together just because we are black. We have to have the same belief system. And so underneath this, it's really bringing us to a wrong way, because the Most High put us here. He put us in slavery. The reason why our people are here in America enslaved is because we denied him. We came against him. We did not keep the law, statutes, and commandments according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, so all the curses fell upon us. He let us know that this is him doing this. He said, I am the one that has done this to you, and now it's him that's waking us up. But we can't get distracted by the Black Lives Matter and all these organizations and get so behind these organizations that we forget it is the Most High that's doing all of this to waken our people up and to let us know Ahaya is the only one that's going to get us out of this. We can put up as many leaders as we want. We can get behind as many as we want. But it is the Most High that has to open up the door and release the people, just like he did to us when we were in Egypt. Well, he said in Deuteronomy chapter 28, I'm going to bring you back to Egypt, basically bondage in ships. And so he brought us back in bondage because of our disobedience. So now we're looking to a man, or we're looking to an organization to free us. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying the intention of the organization is wrong. We've got to come together and get on our knees and cry before the Most High and ask him to release us from this bondage that these nations have conspired. If you look in Psalms chapter 83, it'll tell you the nations that had conspired to come against his hidden ones. Okay, so this is the reason why these things are happening, because the Most High is steady trying to get our attention. Yasharala, get on your knees. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, stop looking to man, stop looking to the things that man can do, and begin to focus. Turn your attention. Don't worry about what these organizations are doing. Get on your knees and cry out to the Most High Ahaya and ask him to save. And he will open up the door to begin to deliver our people, just like he's doing now. But don't get distracted with that Black Lives Matter. Pray for our people. Pray for the nation of Yasharala. Pray that the Most High will deliver us. Pray that he will keep and sustain us, especially when it comes down to the ones that are really seeking his face. And that brings me down to the last thing that I want to talk about, and that's the entertainment industry. A lot of things are happening. Notice a lot of black movies coming out to distract our people. Denzel Washington now has a new movie. He's coming out. He's playing Pharaoh. It's supposed to be a black, movie about us being in Egypt and coming out. There's another black movie coming out, The Wizard of Oz. and it's replaying the movie, the Oz or the Wiz, that's it, the Wiz, that Diana Ross and Michael Jackson originally played. They're remaking this, but look at who's playing. A lot of these characters that's inside of this movie are lesbian and bisexual people, okay? The enemy knows that the Most High is moving in the earth, and we're living in the last days. And so what he's trying to do is counteract that by causing us to get distracted and start looking at television and looking at movies and looking at superstars and megastars and begin to get into these movies that distract our time away from praying and reading our word and really drilling into who we are, to distract us to get involved with the government, get involved with entertainment, and that takes us off of our knees, which prayer is the most essential weapon that we have, because we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities and powers. We're wrestling against demons and spirits. But if he can take our mind and attention off of what the real war is going on and entertain us, detain us so that the enemy can enter, then we'll get distracted, and then it takes you back away from what he wants you to be doing, you to be teaching your children, you to be leading the men, trusting that the Most High, praying for your husband, upholding him as he operates in the world, operate with these, pagan and heathen nations and people. So that was some things that was pressing that I really want to share with you. And you can go online and look up these things. You can go up the new Wizard of Oz movie, the new Pharaoh movie, and all these different new black movies that's coming out, as well as look up Black Lives Matter, understand what's going on with that organization. They tried this in 2008. Nothing came of it with the Million Man March. They did another march in 2000, and I think it was 2001, 2008, 2011. Nothing has come of these marches except people spending money and being distracted. Nothing has come of this for our community. They always say it's black people, but the head of this organization that's doing this march is a person that serves Allah. He's a Muslim. His name is Farrakhan. He's the one that's setting all this stuff up. And whatever you believe, that's the way you're going to go. So the organization is really veered toward, the Muslim faith. And they don't even understand that religion doesn't even want black people in it, because when you go overseas to the Middle East, it's a different Muslim-type religion there. So they have to be retaught in the ways of the true Ishmael. Ishmael started that religion. That's not the religion of the Hebrews. Our God is a higher. He's the God that created the heavens and the earth. We weren't supposed to go whoring after other gods. So we need to understand, when you see these things popping up in the earth, find out who's actually over this thing and see about, what direction are they going? Should I yoke myself up with this? Be careful who you yoke yourself up with, especially in this day and time. So just a little news that's happening. And just different little things that I noticed. Of course, we know we're at war right now with Syria and Iran and Russia. We are at war, and these things are going to happen. Yeshaya told us in Matthew chapter 24 through 28 about things that's happening in the last days. But he told us not to be afraid. He told us not to fear. He said, because these are the beginning of sorrows, especially for those people that do not trust in him. So last week, we talked about how did the Matrix get started. Right? We talked about who began the Matrix, okay, what was happening during this time that got all of this stuff in the system. And remember, last week we talked about the Matrix was basically the womb. It is a cavity in which anything is formed or cast. It is a mold, okay? Then we said, what is the womb? The womb, is it the belly, or the womb can be the body, any place where anything is produced. Remember? We talked about that. And then we said, what is a mold? Well, a mold is also a matrix, or it's a hollow in which something is shaped, something is formed, which it takes the form of. It is a model. It is a pattern. And it is also character of and the nature of. Okay? Just remember, that's what the matrix is. Okay? And it is shaping our consciousness. It is shaping who we are. It's all around us. It's everything that we think about, everything that we've been taught, everything that we know about, us as being a people. It has all been shaped through the matrix, okay? And one of the foundational scriptures that I wanted to start with, I couldn't find the verse, but one of the foundational scriptures I wanted to start with was 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. And some of you may already know this particular verse. I've heard it pretty much all my life when I was growing up in the church. But 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, "Come out from among them, and be ye separated, saith Ahiah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you." Well, what I want to do is go up to verse 14, because that's the main one I want to touch. But I want to go up to verse 14, and I'm going to read all the way through 17. It says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together." When I just mentioned this. "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness?" Think about that. What fellowship can you have with an unrighteous person? And what type of communion can you have with you being in the light and someone in the darkness, or you're in light and that particular thing that you're trying to communicate with is in darkness? Chapter 2 of 2 Corinthians 6, this is verse 15. "And what concord has a Yeshua or Messiah with Baal, an idol god?" Okay. "And what part has he believeth with an infidel?" Okay, a person that's totally reprobate out of their mind, don't believe in the Most High, don't worship him, don't serve him, lawless, is a lawless person. "What part has he that believeth with an infidel?" Verse 16. "And what agreement has the temple of Ahiah with idols?" Okay, what agreement can we have with idols? "For ye are the temple of the living Elohim, and his name is Ahiah. As Ahiah has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people." He's talking about us. Verse 16. "Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separated, saith Ahiah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you." I'm going to read verse 18. "And will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith Ahiah Almighty." Okay. Now I read 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I started at verse 14, and I ended at verse 18. Okay. That is the foundational scripture that I really want to read out to you is 2 Corinthians chapter 16, starting at verse 14 to 18. So that is the foundation. So now we know the Most High is saying there is no relationship between Yeshua, our Messiah, and Belial, which is basically a god, a false idol, a false god. He has no part in the believer with the unbeliever, basically. There is no agreement with the temple of the Most High and idols. I want you to keep that in mind, okay? Because we are the temple of the living Elohim. We are his temple. And he wants to dwell with us and walk with us, and he wants to be our Elohim, and he wants us to be his people. But there's got to be a separation before he can do that. So last week we talked about where did the matrix begin? Well, we went into the book of Enoch, okay? And in the book of Enoch, it tells us about the fallen angels and how this thing got started with a lot of the things that we see that's coming up on the earth today. Is the same thing that was happening during Noah's time. That's the reason why the earth was destroyed, because, and if you go to Genesis chapter 6, start with verse 1, it tells you that the sons of Elohim, the angels, saw the daughters of man, and they lusted after them, and they wanted to be with them. So what they did was they formed a pact under a curse, and they said, we're going to do this. And so they came into the daughters of man, and they began to lay with them and have children, and that's when the Nephilim, the giants, came about, and that was unsatisfactory to the Most High because they left their first estate and they came down to be with the daughters of men. And that's one of the scriptures that I want to speak to you about tonight before we go into Enoch. Let's go to Jude chapter 1, verse 6. I'll give you time to get there. Jude, that's in the New Testament, right before Revelations. Jude chapter 1, let's go to verse 6. Let's just get a little information besides Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 that tells you about the Nephilims. Let's look at it in the New Testament. Jude chapter 1, verse 6. And it says, and the angels which kept not their first estate. Well, what is an estate? Is where you live, is where you reside, where you are, your house. So they left heaven, which was their first estate, but they left their own habitation, and he reserved it in everlasting chains under darkness into the judgment of the great day. Okay, so he mentions here about the angels leaving their first estate, their own habitation, where they dwelt. They left because they wanted to come down to be with the daughters of men. Okay, and when they saw the daughters of men, they began to lay with them and have giants. All right, now let's keep that in mind, because he also mentions, Jude also mentions about Enoch as well. Okay, and if you go to Jude 1 and 14, he tells you, and Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these things, and behold, a higher cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all the ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and all of their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against them. So he mentions this in Jude, which only has one chapter. You go to verse 14, and he mentions about Enoch. Now, we know that Enoch walked with the Most High, and then he was not. Okay, but what else happened to Enoch? That's why you have to get the book to know what happened to him. So we went to Enoch, and we began to read about the fallen angels and how the matrix got started. I don't want to repeat the lesson, but I do want to give you some highlights. So the daughters of the son of the Most High came, and they began to lay with the daughters of men, Adam, and they began to have these giants. Okay. Now, once they got here and began to deal with the daughters of men, which were the women, they began to teach them some things when they took them as wives. Okay. Now, if you don't have a copy of Enoch, you can email me, and I can shoot you a link from online where you can download the Apocrypha books, which are the hidden 14 books that they took out of our actual King James Bible that they don't want us to read. I will email you a link to download that, and also I will email you a link to download the book of Enoch. So if you don't have these books and you don't have the ability to get to the eSword, you can email me at myelohim, myelohim, at mail.com, and I will send you a link to download both the Apocrypha and the book of Enoch. But if we go to the book of Enoch, chapter 7, we can look and see, it says that all together with them they took themselves wives. They're talking about the fallen angels, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them and to defile themselves with them because they had holy bodies. They had no reason to be going into a mortal. They were immortal. Okay, that was a sin that basically got them out of heaven. So they sinned against the Most High, and they taught them charms. Now, I want to go into this because this is what the Most High told me, to go back and begin to look at these words, look at these things that they taught them, and give you a little bit more insight into some of the things they taught them. So let's look at the word charm, okay? The word charm means words, characters, or other things imagined to possess some occult or intangible power, hidden power. Hence, a magic power or spell by which, with the supposed assistance of the devil, witches and sorcerers have been supposed to do wrongful things such as spell, enchantment, hence, okay? So it's got to deal with spells, magic, with the assistance of the devil. Now, we know that evil cannot happen without Satan. Satan is the epitome of evil, okay? So anytime you're using dark magic or white magic, whatever the Catholic Church want to call it, magic is the opposite of what the Most High deals in. He operates in the spirit of truth. The enemy operates in all these lies, and he deals with the opposite of truth, which is evil, which is lies. So anytime you're dealing with magic or casting spells, it is always going to be the assistance of the devil. It has to do with witches and sorcerers, and you all know what the law states about a witch. Okay? Suffer not. You go back to Deuteronomy chapter 5, and it tells you about suffering. Do not suffer a witch to live. That means she must or he must die. Okay? That's in the book of the law. Okay? So they came and began to teach them charms. Okay? What else did they teach them? Enchantments. Okay, charms and basically enchantments. They're basically the same thing. Okay. But let me look that up for you. Let's look up the root word enchant. Enchant means to practice sorcery or witchcraft of anything, to give efficacy to anything by songs of sorcery or fascination. So they sing enchantments. They sing spells, okay? It also says to subdue by charms or spells. But if you look at the actual definition, it says to sing. And now about the cauldron, sing the little elves and fairies, it's an example, in a ring enchanting all that you put in. So as they begin to sing, they would sing. Other thing is the act of producing certain wonderful effects by invocation, aid of demons, the agency of certain supposed spirits, and the use of magic, art, spells, charms, incantations. Now, Yvette, why are we talking about this tonight? Because these things were on the earth already. These things were happening already, okay? So you got spells with the aid of the enemy, sorcery and witchcraft. Now you have singing. Well, what do you think they're doing with this music today? The music that you hear today that a lot of these so-called hip-hop artists are actually singing, the rappers and even some of the R&B artists, what do you think they're doing in their music? Okay, they're singing. They're singing spells over the people. They're singing these things, and they're allowing the people to basically curse themselves through the songs, okay, especially the music today. So if you were to go, and I'm sure especially, if you're older than, I would say, 40 or 50 years old, you're 40 and 50 years old older, and you listen to some of this music, especially back in the day when they were not in the 60s and 70s, the music that they used to play back then and what they're playing now, you can actually listen to some of the different things that's going on in the music, and it's hypnotic. You know that it's not of the Most High, okay? So that's another thing they taught them about seeing the spells. Another thing they taught them was cutting roots, okay? Cutting roots. What about that? Voodoo, witchcraft, how to cut these roots, how to make a potion, Pharmakia is basically, the word pharmacy comes from the word pharmakia. Pharmakia has to do with spells, okay? Pharmakia has to do with spells via medicine. Look up the word pharmakia. You'll find out that it has, especially the medicine today, especially how they're killing our people when it comes down to, different medications that you have that they have on the shelf right now. This stuff is so strong, you got to look at what the label says to know what it's doing to you, because they say it's supposed to cure this, but then when you begin to read the side effects later, you find that it's making you worse than what it is helping. So then they have to end up giving you something else for the ailment that you have, okay? So they're practicing sorcery through a lot of the medication, but back in the day they would do this through the cutting of roots. They would have these different portions and spells, and they're still practicing this in New Orleans. They still practice voodoo. Even in Africa and different places, Haiti, they still practice the cutting of roots and voodoo. Okay, what else did they teach them? They made them acquainted with plants, okay? Plants have a good, is something good that it helps our bodies, because he made the plants and the leaves and different things for the healing, the leaves for the healing of us, okay? But they're using it as a way to come against us. They're using these things to form different potions and different, I want to say, medicines and herbals and different things like that to come against us. Now, another thing I see on the internet that's really going strong is marijuana. It's like they're taking the actual leaf, I guess, and extracting it, and they're putting it in some kind of drink, and it's supposed to really help, which I do believe it helps fight cancer, but a lot of people are taking it and smoking it, saying that it's helping them in their ailments. Okay, but do understand, when you take these drugs, it gets you out of your head. It opens you up for a spirit to enter. Okay? You're being detained by these drugs so that a spirit can enter your body. Same thing that's happening with this music. When you listen to this music and there's spelling in this music, oh, it's a nice song, it's all about love. Yeah, but who's singing it? You know, who's singing it? You know, what do they represent? Even some of our Christian music, we have to be careful. Who's singing it? Who wrote the music? Who wrote the lyrics? Who wrote the tunes? You know, because they're even creeping into our music, writing the songs for the artists, writing the actual vocals for the artists and different things like that. Who's writing it? Just be careful, because I'm telling you, if you get a chance to listen to some of this music, especially with some of the tones that they have that they repetitive play over and over again, it's a bunch of spelling going on. Okay? So that's why we're not supposed to be participating with listening to their music. We're not supposed to be participating with taking a bunch of their drugs, especially the new drugs that are on the market. We're really trying to go back and look at some of the different herbal remedies, especially back in the day when I was growing up. We didn't take a lot of medication because my grandmother and my mother, they were still giving us different herbs and vitamins to keep us from being sick. So the Most High is just taking us back to the beginning. But a lot of this stuff comes from the fallen angel technology. Okay? And then they say they begin to impregnate the women, of course, and they begin to impregnate them. They begin to have these giants, and then the giants were consuming everything that the men would acquire. So they were trying to plant gardens and everything, and the giants was eating it all up. And then when they couldn't sustain these giants, guess what happened? The creation began to eat up its creator. They wouldn't have these giants, and then the giants turned on them, and they began to eat them, literally eat them, because they couldn't sustain the hunger that they had. Okay? And I don't know if you've seen that movie, something about the ape, when this scientist was giving this ape this medication, trying to get him to speak and talk and stuff, and they found a way to get him to talk. Is a remake, I think, of King Kong or something like that. And then the ape began to talk and stuff, but he began to think on his own, and they came and they began to kill the scientists and let all the other apes out, and had this one main ape that took over everything and was able to loose the other apes, and they turned on the scientist that was doing this. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at what's going on in the Internet, but they're actually evil scientists are actually mixing human DNA with animals now. That's another thing that was happening in the days of Noah. We're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Then we go into chapter 8, and it says they began to teach them how to make swords and knives and shields and breastplate, and made them and how to use metals of the earth and working them. So we didn't know any of this stuff about, sword play and, war and any of that stuff like that. But the angels, the fallen angels, began to teach man about making swords and shields and breastplate. All of this was for the destruction of man. All of this they were doing was for the destruction of man. There is no reason to teach a man, or anyone for that matter, about swords, knives, and shields and breastplate, except you're going to get ready to, actually teach them about war, teach them about fighting. Yeah, the name of that movie was Planet of the Apes, going back to when we talk about the ape that rose up against his owner and began to kill the others. It was Planet of the Apes. Anytime man puts his hand in something that the Most High created to function one way, it's going to turn around and bite him. Okay, and that's what we're seeing right now today. So not only that, but they taught them the art of working the metals, how to get the metals out of the earth, right? And then how to work the metals. Now, it's funny nowadays because all you see is them, every time you look around, they're building up a building and tearing it down. Well, the Most High, Yeshaya, said that this is what would happen. They'd be building up and tearing down, digging inside the earth and everything like that. But as you can look and see, everywhere you go, they're building. In Texas, and especially in Katy, neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood of houses that they built and nobody's living in it. California, the same way. Okay, they're building these sky-rise buildings, and the next thing you know, they're tearing them down. Okay, this is what they're doing, but they're using the metals of the earth to do this. Okay? Now, we have our brothers in Brazil, Asher is in Brazil, and so is Judah and Benjamin and Levi. Some of our brothers are there too. And that actual place is known for its abundance in metals. Okay, and iron and steel and different things like that. So they've been raping that land, and I'm talking about Edom and all the other nations have been raping that land, getting all of the metals out so they can form their weapons of warfare, larger weapons than what they had back in that time, so they can fight against who? The Most High. They're gearing up to fight against Yeshua when he comes back to crack the sky. All of these weapons and stuff, they're going to destroy each other, of course, but they're going to try to use these weapons against Yeshua. Okay? So who taught them that? Who taught them that? These fallen angels. Okay? They taught them about bracelets. They taught them about ornaments. Okay? Now let's look up that word ornaments. Let's look up the word ornament because I want to break that down. What is an ornament? Okay, it says that which embellishes something which added to another thing renders it more beautiful beautiful to the eye. Let me read it again. That which embellishes something which added to another thing renders it more beautiful to the eye. Okay, embellishment, decoration, additional beauty. So basically, it's something that's supposed to cause you to be more radiant, more beautiful than how you were created. You know, well, last time I checked, when I read in Genesis, when he made man and he began to go out and make all these things, he looked at that thing and said, that's good. When we were put on this earth, we were not put on this earth with any ornaments. When he looked at us, and I'm not, sisters, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's something wrong with bracelets and ornaments. I'm just saying he looked at us and said, it is good. If you find yourself always having to go and grab this and that to put on yourself because you feel as if it's going to make you more beautiful, then we need to go back to the beginning and understand that, sisters, you all were created already in beauty. Okay? You are already beautiful. Okay? There's nothing that you can add to yourself that when the Most High looked upon you, when he created you, he looked at you and said that you were good. Okay? So if anybody tries to tell you any otherwise, it may be something wrong with them. Okay? Not dependent upon these ornaments, jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, rings, and all of that, furs, if we wear that, you know, we don't have to depend upon that for our beauty. We make that look good. Okay? We make the ornaments look good. The ornaments don't make us look good. Okay? They also taught us it's called antimony. Okay, I had to look up the word antimony, and it's primarily a metallic ore consisting of sulfur combined with a metal. Okay, it's basically something that the Romans and the Greeks was using. It's a blackish mineral which strains the hand, hard, brittle, full of long, shiny, needle-like stratia. It is found in the mines of the Bohemian, in Hungary, different places like that. It's used as an ingredient in concave mirrors, giving them a finer texture. It's in bells. It renders the sound more clearer. It renders more tin harder, white, and so basically what I'm looking at is it makes the metal firmer. Okay, it makes any kind of metal that you pull up out of the earth, because you know as well as I know that gold and silver they're malleable. They're very soft. Okay, so they have to get another metal to combine with it to make it harder. So the fallen angels taught our people how to make these metals harder. And what do you think they used them with? Weapons of warfare. All different types of weapons of warfare is what they were using when they call it antimony. Okay? And then beautifying of the eyelids. Well, we all know what that is, you know, mascara, putting on fake lashes, eyeliner, okay, beautifying the eyelids. Once again, ladies, the Most High created us beautiful already. You know, is there something wrong with it? Well, when is a little leaven been okay? You know, if you're convicted by it and you know that it's something that you're being convicted by and you see how that it was created and it wasn't originally created for us to use, then, you know, my suggestion not to wear it. Okay? argue with me all day long, but this is what the scripture says how it was created. Okay? Eyeshadow. Okay? We as a people wouldn't put this stuff on. We didn't start really putting this stuff on until later on that we were taught to put this stuff on. I mean, do you know any slaves that got an opportunity to be out there in the field wearing makeup when we were first brought here from west coast of Africa? You know, we weren't wearing this stuff. And I don't believe our brothers Gad, sisters Gad, the Gadites, and all of them, you know, all of our other tribes were wearing this, you know, but particularly us, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, you know, we weren't wearing this stuff during the slavery times. It was later on when we began to mix with the nations that we learned how to adorn ourselves as such, okay, beautifying of the eyelids. And another thing, it got us in trouble. I read the daughters last week, and if you want to go back and take a look at that, that came from the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, I believe, and it was talking about the daughters of Zion. Isaiah chapter 3, 16 through 26. It talked about the daughters of Zion and how we had become haughty by the way that we had dressed and how we look and different things like that, and how he cursed us with different things because we had become haughty and prideful because of the things that we were wearing and how we were dressing. So if these things, the beautifying eyelids and you wearing ornaments and bracelets and different things make you feel haughty, or you take on a different characteristic when you wear these things or put these things on, then you may just want to not wear that stuff for a while and see what, you know, do a little test on yourself and see how you feel. You know, see what happens within you to see how you feel and how it makes you feel without the things, and then put it back on and just do a test. But just know this is where this stuff comes from. And then it says all kinds of costly stones. You know, there was a big song about diamonds is a girl's best friend. You know, they're killing people right now in the west coast of Africa because of sending the babies and different people in the diamond mines to be able to go out and get these diamonds. You know, the Ivory Coast. And there's a Gold Coast, and there's different places that are actually in, I think it's called Sierra Leone, is the main place where these diamond mines are in Africa. And our people, they're using our people to go in, and they're dying behind getting these gems. Okay? But who taught us that a rock had any value? Okay? We're learning right here, fallen angel technology. And then all coloring tinctures. You know, all different, let's look up the word tinctures, you know, all coloring tinctures. Give me just a minute. Different ways to make colors up. Tincture, the finer and more volatile parts of a substance separated, or an extract of a part of a substance of a body communicated. Let me go down here and find something a little more plain English. A medicine, a spirited solution of such of the proximity principles of vegetables and animals are soluble in pure alcohol. They basically take like an orange peel, the color is orange, and they'll take it and dilute it into some alcohol, soluble type of alcohol, or maybe even they call them spirits. They'll even take like a vodka or something like that, and they'll mix it in there, and then they'll pull out the color, the shade of that vegetable color. You know, that's where they get color from. Purples, reds, these just orange, all these different colors come from them taking a substance like an alcohol and taking it and mixing it with that orange peel or whatever color they're trying to do, and they take the color out of the peel. And then what happens is they're able to make different types of dyes with that. So that would be a tincture. That would be coloring tinctures. Okay, so they taught them that. That's where we get the beautiful eyeshadows for our eyes and the beautiful lipstick for our lips, and the nail polish that's killing us with every time we breathe it, And that's another thing I want to share with you ladies. Stop going to these Vietnamese places to get your nails done and do your nails yourself, or try to get away from the nails polish, because there's formaldehyde and there's all different types of chemicals inside of the nail solution. It's stronger now than it's ever been, and it's actually causing problems in the system, because when you put that stuff on your nails, your nails are porous, and so it gets through the skin and it gets into the system. Okay, and a lot of times we're getting sick not only from the nail polish and stuff that we wear, because when you cover the pores of your nails, it cannot breathe. Therefore, fungus and all that stuff begins to get into the nail and inhabit the nail bed and stuff like that. But not only that, when you're in those nail salons, think about this. They got a mask and you don't. There's a purpose for that. They know that those chemicals are harmful to their body. They know that when they're taking that acrylic stuff and they're shaving it and smoothing it out, they know it's going into the air, and they know they're not supposed to smell it, but they won't give you a mask. So there's something going on. We shouldn't be going in there. We're enriching Japheth's kids mixed with Edom. That's what a lot of these Asians are. We're enriching them and killing ourselves at the same time. And the Most High is showing us that we should not be using these particular substances on our skin. We should not use it in our bodies. Okay? So the coloring of tinctures, and then it says, and there arose much godlessness, okay, from them teaching them this thing. Now think about this, another thing that the Most High just showed me. When you have something that is different in color than someone else, that brings on a spirit of covetousness. And I notice that's what's happening today in society when it comes down to our young people and these computers and these iPods and stuff. I remember when the iPods and the computers were just one color, black, and it wasn't even gray. I think it was just black and white, or maybe just black and gray, or like a gunpowder-looking gray. And when they came out, it was like all these different colors of the rainbow, have it your way. And then the iPods came out with different colors. And then they began to create the phones. Personalize it for your own personal use. You have the freedom to do so. And our kids looked at that stuff, and they were just going crazy behind it. I want an iPod. I want Apple this and Apple that, and I want to be pink, and I want to be blue. And there's nothing wrong with being individual. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that rolls up covetousness by looking at these different commercials and stuff, the stuff that we didn't even think about having. When we look at these commercials and stuff, when they get done with us, we want it. We want it, and our children want it. And it forms a spirit of covetousness in us. Make us feel like if I had that, it'd probably make me better. I could be a better person if I had that iPhone. I could be a better person if I had that tablet. That shade of orange really could be attractive. That could look nice. That'll really bring me out if I had that, You have to be careful, because that puts in a spirit of covetousness within us, okay? And so that's why a lot of the ungodliness and things began to happen. And then they said they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. That's what happened to man. They became corrupt in all of their ways because of the fallen angels. They began to teach them these things because they knew that they had fallen, and the only thing that they had was they had little knowledge. So the knowledge that they did show them that they knew, they began to corrupt mankind. Okay? So this is the things that were going on in the earth. Now, a little bit further on, it tells you that one of the angels named Shemjaza taught them enchantments, and who taught him enchantments and root cutting was him, and then Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. So one of them taught him how to cast a spell and how to sing these spells on people, and how to show them how to cast a spell on themselves, okay? And then the other angel taught him how to resolve the spell, okay? How to get the incantation or the enchantment off of the person. Okay, and then this other angel taught them astrology, okay, astrology. And then the other angel taught them about constellations, okay. Exodus chapter 20 tells you how the Most High told us when he gave us the 10 Commandments, thou shalt have no other God before me. Thou shalt not bow down and worship any other God. No God above the heaven, under the earth, nothing. No God, nothing created above the heaven, in the earth, under the earth we shouldn't be worshiping anything. But when we look at these people that have been taught about astrology, and we look at the people that's been taught about constellations, they get into your sign. What's your sign? You know, they begin to read their horoscopes. Their horoscope tells them what's going to happen to them this week, you know, or what their personality is about. You know, he never had any intentions of us knowing this kind of thing, you know. But this is what the fallen angels taught mankind. Not only do they teach them, but there's a whole doctrine out there through Egyptology and some other things when it comes down to, and even India, they talk about your chakra and all that stuff is based on astrology. You know, the sun, the moon, the stars, the constellations, you know, how to get to your personal place of Zen. You know, all of that stuff is based on their worship of these created things that the Most High created. Okay, what else did they teach them? The knowledge of the clouds, meteorology. Well, ain't nothing wrong with knowing about the weather. Well, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with knowing about the weather, you know. But this is the stuff this is how they got the knowledge of knowing about the weather and the clouds in the sky. And guess what? The weatherman is not always right. You know, he's not always right. But the Most High is always right. He can tell you, if you ask him what the weather going to be like, or what you should be dressing like, what you should be wearing, and you stay in tune with the Spirit, you will always be on point, because he can tell you it's his universe, it's his world, it's his planet, you know. But to have to go to somebody, you know, that's taking a guess, you know, that's been taught to do this by a fallen angel, that has very limited knowledge of the Most High, only what he gave him, you know, it was part of what was taught by man. Acriel taught them the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. Signs of the sun, signs of the earth. Taught by fallen angel technology. Okay? And Shariel, the course of the moon. It's a lot of people going wrong when it comes down to the things of this earth, especially when it comes down to Shabbat. The Jews over there, because we're not Jews, we're Hebrews, but those Jews over there, they go by the moon with their days and months, new months and different things like that. They actually follow the moon. And we're not even supposed to be following the moon when it comes down to telling the times, the signs. It's a light that the Most High put in there for signs and seasons, but we're not supposed to be going by the moon, because the sun, we know, is the leader, is the greater light, you know. And he told us how to calculate time. If you read also in the book of Enoch, and you go to verse chapter 11, he begins to give you the hidden mysteries that the Most High gave him about the luminaries, and how to go about telling time and seasons, you know, not based upon the Roman Catholic Greco-Roman calendar or the Greco-Roman system that we have now, this 24-hour clock that was originally 18 hours that they took, not only just going by their calendar where they're saying that Sunday is the Sabbath, okay, they changed Sunday, they changed the Sabbath in 325 A.D., they changed the Sabbath. It was one of the Roman popes, Constantine, that changed the Sabbath to Sunday, because Sunday they worship as the venerable day of the sun. Okay, so they changed our Sabbath, which was always on a so-called Saturday, the seventh day. They changed it to Sunday. They changed our calendar. They changed the length of our calendar. There's 364 days in a year, not 365, but they changed that too. Okay, Daniel chapter 5 through 7 tells you how they had the intention of changing the times and dates and the laws and different things that had to do with the Most High. Had already set up a calendar. He already set up times and laws of the times. Okay, but they think to change the laws and times. So if you look at the different things that these fallen angels has taught, These things have been going on in the matrix for a long time. We have accepted them as truth. We have not challenged them as truth up until now. Up until now, that the Most High has begun to open up our eyes and show us the different things that He said, hey, I did not create it that way. I didn't make it to be that way. You need to challenge that. You need to look and see why this is happening, why that is happening. And when we begin to challenge that, the Most High begins to give us more information and take us deeper and deeper and deeper. And show us the truth. He gets rid of the lie, and He shows you the lie and then gives us the truth. Okay, what else did they teach us? And Shariel, the course of the moon, and as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So as men begin to die, their cry went up to heaven, to the Most High, and they were crying out and saying, help us, help us. These sons of Elohim, these angels have come down, and they have corrupted us, and they have corrupted man. Okay? And they were teaching them all these things. Now, all these things we just talked about have been part of some of what's been happening in the matrix, because with all of that comes a change of mindset in our people. You know, when we look at things that go against the Most High that He didn't want us to know or understand, that goes against how we were created and what we were supposed to know from the beginning. So if we go to Romans chapter 1, verse 18 to 32, it's going to show you some of the things that happen, that is happening in the matrix. So let's go to Romans chapter 1, and let's start at verse 18. And let's look at some of the things that would be happening here. Start with verse 18. For the wrath of Ahiah is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of Ahiah is manifest in them, for Ahiah has showed it unto them. Everything that he wanted us to know and do is in the book of the law. Okay, everything. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world were clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without an excuse. Everything that we see in this world that's visible, we can understand a lot of the invisible based upon the things that are visible that we're looking at. We know that from looking at the sun, moon, and stars, something greater created them other than ourselves. So we know that we can't put ourselves up to be God, because we had no idea how none of this stuff came about, unless we read in the scriptures to know that it was a God that created them. But we do know that something else created them and not ourselves. Because verse 21 says, because that when we knew Ahiah, they glorified him not as Ahiah, neither was thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing, verse 22, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Okay? The fallen angels decided to go against their Creator, and they professed themselves to be more wise. But they became foolish. Okay? Because the things that they thought they knew was very little compared to what the Most High had in his plan. So in creating the matrix, they knew that they could fool us as man, but they couldn't fool the Most High. And the Most High had a plan, even though with these things that started happening in the matrix, he had a plan to get rid of the corruption and to reset the race and start it over with Noah. But he also knew that it would come back upon the earth, because every man would not serve the Most High. And so what we're looking at right now is, as the Most High washed away the fallen angels and the things that were happening, they eventually washed away from the earth. Some of them came back up in our world, and that's the reason why Moses, when he was taking the children of Israel, they had to fight Og and king of Bashan. These giants came back onto the earth, okay, and they began to dwell with the Canaanites and different people like that, and began to procreate, and the Most High wiped them off again. But he knew that man would begin to go back in living this way, and so he took Noah, which was a faithful man, and he saved his life. and his family. And he brought the seed all the way through Noah, through Shem, and then through Shem, all the way through Shem to Abraham, and all the way down to Yeshua, and we are part of that seed. Okay? We're part of that seed. But inside of this plan here, our people disobeyed. Our people went against the law of the Most High that was teaching us how to stay separate from the nations. Therefore, we were cursed because of our actions. We were put here in this place, and now we're dealing with the matrix. We're dealing with a world that the enemy, Satan, has taken root in, and he has caused us to think that we need to be comfortable here and don't rock the boat. Don't worry about learning the laws. You know, some of the Christian churches, they preach that the law is done away with. You don't need no law. You don't need no 10 Commandments. But how do you justify your sin being cleansed if you don't have, you know, the law to go by? If you don't, well, put it this way: how do you know what's right and wrong if you don't have the law to go by? If the law is done away with, you know, we have a Redeemer, which is Yeshua, and He redeems us from our sin. But it doesn't give us an excuse. Favor of the Most High doesn't give us an excuse to continue to sin. There's a law that He gave to His people, and only to His people. If you go to Psalms 147. Let's talk about the law, because this is going to help us get out. This is going to help us with our coming out of the matrix. If you go to Psalms 147, and I know a lot of people, the ladies that's on the line that's been in the truth for some time, you've read this verse over and over again. You've heard this verse several times. Well, we're going to read it again. Psalms 147, starting at verse 19, and I'll give you just a few seconds to get there. Told us. Psalms 147 and 19, and He showed His word unto Jacob, or Jacob, His statutes and His judgments unto Yasharallah. Verse 20, He has not dealt so with any nation, and as for His judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Ahiah. You see that? He has his judgments and statutes He has only showed unto Jacob, which is Jacob. That's us. And He has not dealt so with any other nations. They don't understand the law, statutes, and commandments because He didn't give it to them. He gave it to Yasharallah. And we're supposed to be the ones that's teaching this law to the nations, believing on His Son for the redemption work that He did to connect us back to the Most High, and forgiveness of our sins, but yet through grace, and which is favor from the Most High, continue in learning the law so that we can be perfected through that, through the leading of the Ruach HaKodesh. Everything that Paul and all of the Talmudim or Talmudiyam, everything they taught had to do with the law. They taught the law. Yeshua taught the law, because that's all that was there when they were walking the earth. They were teaching the law. And He didn't come, Yeshua didn't come to destroy the law, but He came to fulfill it, to bring it into fruition. He was able to come in and fulfill everything that the prophets and everything that the law said about Him. But He didn't do away with it, because we've got to have that law as our protection against the other nations, against what they're doing. Okay? So what else is in the matrix? What else is inside of this thing that they have taught us? Let's start with the calendar. Let's start with our holy days. Leviticus chapter 23 teaches us about the days of the Most High. It teaches us about the days that we're supposed to worship. But the other nations have their days that they set aside to be worshiped. That's been added into this calendar, this Greco-Roman calendar. Okay? We're supposed to be celebrating Pesach and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They worship on Easter. Okay? We're supposed to be celebrating Sukkot and Feast of Tabernacles, also the Feast of Trumpets, and also the Day of Atonement. And they're celebrating Thanksgiving. Well, first they're doing Halloween and Thanksgiving, and then we worship. We do the Shavuot. We're doing the same time, which is the Day of Pentecost that's in the Scriptures, and they're in the Feast of Weeks, and they're doing Easter. Okay? It's a lot of the days that we have. We have holy days, And then we also have Shabbatah, and we also have celebrating the new months as they come in. That's a feast day. That's a feast day as well. Celebrating as the old month goes out and the new month comes in. That's another feast day. And then the seventh day is our Sabbath. That's another feast day. But then we have our holy days, according to Leviticus chapter 23, that tells you about all of the holy days that we're supposed to be worshiping. Okay? That takes away any pagan day, Valentine's, birthdays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas. That we get rid of all that stuff because we're not supposed to celebrate those days. Why? Well, what's wrong with Christmas? Well, first of all, Yeshua wasn't born on Christmas. And all of the things that have to do with Christmas is pagan. If you go and look up the holiday Christmas, it'll tell you that from the cutting of the tree to the decorating, it has to do with worshiping the goddess of Ashtoreth. And then all of the other things, the hanging of the, I can't even remember a lot of this stuff because we hadn't celebrated in so long, but all of the things that they're doing, the Yuletide carols and all that stuff like that, has nothing to do with the Most High. We do have the Feast of Dedication of the Altar that happens, and that's going to be happening starting next week. Well, actually this week, Feast of the Dedication of the Altar, which happened in the Maccabees' time when they reclaimed the altar from the Greeks. When they had polluted the altar and the temple, the Maccabees were able to go back and take back Jerusalem and rebuild the altar and rebuild a lot of the temple, take it back for the Most High, and that's called Hanukkah. Okay, and that's one of the feast days that you can celebrate, which is according to the Most High's calendar. But some of these other days, we've gotten comfortable because we have learned this stuff. We've learned this stuff because this is what we were taught. This is all we knew, you know. But when you know better, you do better, and you disassociate yourself from everything that has to do with pagan worship. All of those holidays are holy days to a god. Okay, every one of those days have to do with worshiping a god, a pagan idol. Okay, but all of the holy days that, according to Leviticus chapter 23, has to do with worshiping Ahaya, the only true living God, or Elohim, creator of everything. Our Elohim, personally, that's who those days represent. What else we've learned when it comes down to looking at, you know, the matrix? Of course, we have already talked about the different ways that we dress. But think about this for 1 second. What does the word brand mean to you? Okay? Think of the word brand. And what do you think of? You know, nowadays if you talk about brand, you're talking about brands of clothing or brands of items, you know, or a brand of a car outside. You know, like different, I guess, companies, if you want to call that, because that's basically who it is, the company that, or all of the corporations that made the particular item that you're looking at.
We are talking about branding, and we're talking about the different brands that the corporations currently have that we are currently wearing on our clothes, on our purses and shoes, and it's just the next level of branding. We went from the master branding us to actually wearing the brands and marketing for the companies that go against what we very believe in. So we're going to pause here, and we're going to pick up next week on the topic of Coming Out of the Matrix Part 3, and we'll continue giving you information concerning what the matrix has and how it has ensnared and entrapped our people. So next Saturday at 8:30 p.m., right after Shabbat, on Saturday, we'll continue the Women Ladies Call, Coming Out of the Matrix Part 3. You ladies have a blessed day. Shalom.
I don't know what is wrong with the righteous laws of the Father. Could it be that we are